Wondering how your mindset affects your life? How to bring more energy into your business and life? Millions of people around the world ask these same questions daily. You are in the right place. Learn practices that will help give your life the meaning and success you've been searching for. Welcome to the Charge Podcast, teaching you how to create habits around real goals every day. Practical life advice from those who made it. Here's your host, Gary Wilbers.
Welcome, Chargers. We're glad to have you again this week with another great guest. I can't believe 2021 is coming to a close, but the thing is, we decided this quarter to get you guests to really get you prepared for 2022. So each guest really has their perspective, they're sharing their expertise, but it's really to help you decide what you need to take action on. And today's guest, we've done the same thing. Mike C-Roc Ciorrocco is the co-founder of Blooprinted, best-selling author of Rocket Fuel, Convert Setbacks, Become Unstoppable, and the powerhouse behind the What Are You Made Of podcast. He has been featured by Yahoo Finance as one of the top business leaders to follow in 2020 and is on a mission to build people. He is driven to inspire others, and he measures his success on how he is able to help others achieve greatness. C-Roc had a fire lit in him at an early age. That fire has ignited him with fierce desire to compel people to see the greatness inside themselves using past life events to fuel their fire. C-Roc, it is great to have you on the Charge Podcast. Welcome.
What's happening, Gary? Thanks for having me, man. I always start every interview with gratitude. I really appreciate you and your audience for showing up. Thank you.
Well, thanks for saying yes to the podcast. I know this is going to be a great discussion. Was doing some research and really great information of what you're doing. And I love right behind, he's got a sign that says, "What are you made of?" And I think that really sets the stage that I really want to share with the audience. We gave them a brief glimpse in that bio, but C-Roc, tell us how you got from where you're at today, from where that story began in your journey in life.
Yeah. So really, by the way, that what are you made of? It's, something I say to myself a lot. I just put a tweet out yesterday. I just thought of something. I'm like, there's a reason I talk to myself. I don't know about you guys, but if you talk to yourself or not, I talk to myself because I want somebody always around me that thinks the same way I do. So, I have conversations with myself, and if people think that's crazy, that's great. I'm fine with that because it's helped me. And when things get tough, or if things are going great and I want to take things to the next level, I always ask myself, what are you made of, man? Let's go. Look at all the stuff you've been through. And it takes me back to growing up, Gary. I grew up around a lot of broken people, a lot of brokenness, alcohol, drug addicts, depression, anxiety, suicide, abuse. I came from a broken home, and I don't remember my parents ever together. And, being in that, I'm not telling you this to play victim or whine about it. I'm just telling you where I came from. And what made me is being around that and understanding that there were stories that people were telling themselves of why they were doing things. Some people might say that's an excuse, but I just talk about the story. What story are you telling yourself? I'm very conscious of what story I tell myself because of the fact that I was around it my whole life, and everybody had a story of why they were drug addicts, why they were always anxious, why they were, doing the things that they did, down to the suicide note that my grandmother left. There's always a story that we're telling ourselves. And so I realized at that young age that paying attention to the story you tell yourself matters. And I just decided at a young age to start telling myself why I was winning rather than why I was losing. And, the story from when I was 8 years old, I decided to move in with my dad after living with my mom for the first 8 years of my life. And my mom was moving on to her third marriage. And I didn't really want to learn another man's rules and move into another man's house. So I decided to try my dad's house out. And my dad was moving on to his second marriage. And I said, what the heck, let me try this. And my mom let me go. Later on, I found out I broke her heart. She said she used to cry herself to sleep at night because I was her oldest. And, she would only see me every other weekend. And I know that must have been tough. I know for people that are divorced parents that have kids, I know that can't be easy. So I did that. And for the first part of the 3 years I stayed at my dad's house from 8 to 11, it was good. But after that, it started to get a lot of conflict and controversy. There was things going on. I don't know the whole story, but my mom, my stepmom, my dad, jealousy issues, money issues, all this stuff, right? And so that would pour down on us kids. And when it did, we would go through situations that we probably shouldn't have gone through as kids. We were seeing and hearing things we shouldn't have saw. I used to sleep with my baseball bat when I was 9 years old because of the things I was seeing and hearing. And so for a period of time, I thought that was ordinary. I thought that's what you're supposed to go through. I thought this is the life I'm supposed to go in. I don't know. And I wouldn't, I kind of put up a facade, like a charade of what really was going on deep inside, because I didn't know if I shared what was going on, what the results would be. But I would start to go over friends' houses and I'd start to see their families having happiness and togetherness and love. And I just thought to myself, wait a minute. You can have that. I want that. So I decided to share with my mom what was going on in that house and abuse I was dealing with. And she said, are you serious? Like you should never have to go through that. Are you kidding me? It's not normal. I'm going to file court papers to get you out of this. But just know that when you believe in something and you have a wish for something, some people aren't going to have that same wish and they're going to try to talk you out of it. So in life, she told me, stick to your guns. When you believe in something, stick to your guns, because there's going to be people that have a different agenda. And you need to be so committed to get what you want that they can never talk you out of it. So just be prepared, because you can't leave me out on this limb when I go to the courts. So, all right, I got it. I've kept that lesson with me to this day, 30 some years later. And so finally, after weeks and weeks went by where I was waiting for these papers to be delivered, my dad got these court papers. I came home from school. I could tell in the room that there was tension. I knew something was up. And keep in mind, my dad sent me to my room. My dad was my hero. He had a masonry business. He was very successful. He had these big forearms and rough hands. You could tell he was a hard worker if he shook his hand. And he used to carry a wad of $100 bills in his pocket instead of a wallet, because we're Italian. That's what Italian people do. And he had a rubber band around it. And he used to show off these $100 bills when I was a young kid. And he used to show me what money got us and what it meant to have money. And I just always looked up. I thought that was the coolest thing. And he came back to my room after sending me back there and confronted me about these papers that said I wanted to leave his house. And I just remember him saying, your mom doesn't have it very well. You know that. You got everything you need here. She's got men coming in and out of the house. I don't know why you would want to go to that when you have this here. And he was just really in denial of what was going on. But I didn't get into discussion with him, Gary. I just said, you know what? I made my mind up. I stuck to my guns. I said, I made my mind up. I'm not open to discussion with this 10-year-old kid, by the way, sitting here. He said, okay, if that's the case. And he takes that wad of $100 bills out of his pocket, peeled one off, crumpled it up and threw it at me. So here, you're going to need this then when you're living on the streets with your mother one day. And at that moment, the first thing that went through my head was, what did I just do? Like, this is why I didn't want to tell anybody about what was going on. I just ruined everything. But then very quickly, a little switch happened and a spark was lit. And I said, you know what? I'm not going to need that money. I've been selling golf balls on a golf course since I was 8 years old, making 50 cents here, $1 here. I could make money. I'm not going to need that money. I'll show you. And for 30 some years, I drove off of that spark. I drove off of that towel being thrown in on me. And about 3 years ago, I started going through some tough times in business, 3 to 4 years ago. And I was like, why? I needed to pick me up. I needed something to pump me up at that moment. And I said, why do I have elevation no matter what I go through in my life? Why, when I have a discouraged person that's coming at me, or I screw up something, or somebody does me wrong, I still elevate afterwards? There's a formula here I need to figure out. And what I found out is what I put in the Rocket Fuel book, is that if you can take all the setbacks, all the letdowns, all the discouragement and your screw ups of your own, and start storing them in your tank, your fuel tank, instead of your trunk where it weighs you down, you can convert all that into rocket fuel and become unstoppable and live the life that you want without anything stopping you. And that's the formula that I created. I wrote in the book, Rocket Fuel, and that's how I got to where I am today.
Well, I appreciate you sharing that, because one of the things I was going to ask you really out of that story is, how did you make that change? And it's really, you're storing it as fuel versus as luggage.
Yeah. If you see anything that would stop a normal human being or slow a normal I say normal because most people store it in their trunk where it weighs them down. Yeah. But if you could take all that stuff, slows you down, stops you, and convert it into fuel, there's nothing in your way. And not only do you not get stopped, but you get boosted by it. And that's the formula. It's simple. It's not rocket science. It's rocket fuel.
Yeah. And I have audience members, I call them chargers, and chargers want to charge through, but it's about having that fuel, because we've all had setbacks. We may have not had the setbacks that C-Roc shared with us, but we've had something. It could be one person that said something negative to you at a certain age, and it's still in your heart and in your mind, and you're allowing that to stop you. And what happens when that stops us? Then we're not able to become the person we're really meant to. And kind of the question I was going to ask you is, what is your mission as you go forward, C-Roc? What are you trying to really let people know, and really kind of your audience that you really are out there sharing with each and every day?
So I live everything through this mission. My thoughts, words, and action all go through this mission. And that mission is all people are unstoppable to live in the life of their dreams. I firmly believe that. And the only thing stopping them is themselves, and making this switch of storing things in your fuel tank instead of your trunk. And you see, Gary, the thing is that when we're 6 to 11 years old, that's when these things happen that you just mentioned, where they stick with us. We're making decisions based on what my coach and my advisor, Richie Dolan, tells us. There are 3 keepers: the fear, judgment, and ego. And all these 3 things keep us in check and keep us small and living small and living by default, which is just to survive. And it all comes from something that happened when we were 6 to 12 years old. Something that happened, something that was said to us, an experience that we dealt with, and some kind of what we would call a belief that was implanted in us at that age. And still to this day, we're living off of that.
Yeah, that becomes the challenge, because right now we know there's somebody in the audience that's listening, and they're still allowing that fear, judgment, and ego to really resonate in their life. So how do you consistently, and how can we share with them to be able to execute consistently on whatever mission they have? You have a certain mission that you're out there creating each day. Maybe we can share those parallels.
Yeah. I mean, another mentor that I have, and by the way, I believe in advisors and mentors. Like, this is like something that has changed everything for me. One of my other mentors, Brandon Dawson, talks about his 3 A's. And when you learn something from me, when I'm telling you about the ego and the fear and the judgment, and the fact that we got these beliefs when we were young, based on these 3 keepers that Richie talks about, Brandon talks about 3 A's, which, really stick with me, is acknowledge it, accept it, and then do something, act. So you acknowledge the fact that you got these 3 things keeping you in. You accept it, that okay, this is okay, I see how that could be. And then you do something about it. But and I'll add another A in there, because you have to be aware of it. And by me telling you this, and if you're listening to this podcast or watching this podcast, now you're aware of it. So that's really 4 A's: awareness, acknowledgement, acceptance, and then act. And the action has to be fast. It can't be something that you sit around on, because then these thoughts start swirling in your head. Like, wait a minute, is it really ego? Is it really judgment? Is it really fear? Is it really this something I learned when I was younger? What is it? No. Act. When you decide to do something and those 3 things try to keep you back, don't let them keep you back. Take time out and act fast. And when you do that, you starve fear, you starve ego, you starve judgment, because the thing that fuels those 3 things is time.
Yeah, and that makes a big difference in what they're creating for themselves. And I love how you say act right away, because there's known science. The more you think about it, you won't act. You won't move forward. Yeah.
I got to give an example real quick. So This morning I lift weights, and then I do cardio some other days by the boardwalk here in the ocean, in Ocean City, Maryland. And I'm on the boardwalk walking, and I'm thinking to myself, we're launching a new tech product out of the 10X incubator with Grant Cardone. It's called Blooprinted. And, some people could launch a tech product and just try to monetize with the tech product, right? But I think differently, because I was trained differently. I start thinking, how can we add value to people and not just monetize through the tech product, but something around the tech product? Like, why don't we, Blooprinted, by the way, is not a course platform, but it's a way for experts and people with knowledge to be able to blueprint their success step by step and provide that blueprint to someone so that somebody else can follow that exact steps. We have a marketplace where people can go and search for those success blueprints. But the thing about this is that that's a tech product, but we need to teach people how to do that, how to get their information out with this new vehicle, how to monetize with this new vehicle. So I thought to myself, and this is why what I'm talking about with the time thing. How cool would it be if we have a mastermind or some kind of event that taught people how to disseminate their knowledge and expertise out better, more impactful, get better transformation, and be able to monetize and have an event around that. I don't even know when we would do it. I do have an idea where, but I don't know when we would do it. I don't know how many people we could fit yet, but I still said, you know what? I got this idea. I'm going to act on it. I did an Instagram live right away and talked about it and said, hey, if you're interested in doing something like this, DM me Mastermind and we'll put something together and we'll get this thing going. And you see, by doing this, and this is for everybody out there, I'm transparent as it comes. If I were to charge $990, $1,000, right? People will come to that event. And if I can get 100, this is what's going through my head, and I'm not letting anything stop me. If I can get 100 people to that, that's $100,000. That's $100,000 that we can invest by giving value to people, building a community, and we can invest in our tech product to further develop the tech product because we're taking this thing to the moon. And so these are things that run through my head, but I don't take time on them and think about, oh, well, will they really show up? We don't even have a date yet. Can I really sell something when I don't have a date? I got rid of all that stuff and just took action right away. Got a landing page set up. We're going to start marketing it right away and get it out. And nothing can stop us because the time's not there.
Yeah. So right away, just making something happen versus just waiting for it to happen. So Many people wait. What would be one of the things you would say with your book, Rocket Fuel? I know there's lots of tips and lots of things you shared of your life experiences, but what would you share with them for a person that, if to make that difference? We've talked about several of them already, but to rocket fuel themselves, to how to take that to the next level.
You got to get sick and tired of being sick and tired. Like the life you're living right now, if you're waking up in the morning and just going through a same old drifting routine, and it's not a routine built intentionally for success to get you where you want to go, eventually you just got to get sick and tired, because this is going to fall on deaf ears a lot of times. The things that we talk about, there's people that just aren't ready to hear it. They don't think help is possible. They don't believe in help. They've been screwed over by people. They just don't see it. They don't believe it. And so it'll fall on deaf ears sometimes. But if you get sick and tired of being sick and tired and you're like, look, I've had enough. I'm willing to do whatever it takes to get this life of my dreams. I'm willing to do and run through fire. I'm ready to do something. And it starts with having that dream be big enough to go through anything to get there. And most of us set realistic goals, and we're told to set realistic goals, and realistic goals don't get you excited. So then you don't go after it. You're not willing to go through anything it takes to get there. So what if the dream's unrealistic? So what if it's unreasonable? First of all, we don't even know our potential, Gary. We don't know what we're really capable of. So why are we setting quote unquote realistic or reasonable goals that don't fire us up, that don't get us excited? If we set unrealistic, quote unquote, unreasonable goals, quote unquote, who cares if we don't get to them? We're going to get way farther than the realistic ones we would have set because we don't know our own capabilities. And we're going to get excited about it, which will help us get through the tough times and the difficulties and the discouragement and the people laughing and making fun of you for having a dream.
Yeah, makes a difference because you're moving forward versus just waiting for something to happen.
Exactly.
Just like you're kind of disrupting, I think you talked about a little bit with your blueprint of disrupting coaching, consulting, and the training industry. Share with us your philosophy behind that.
So I took a lot of courses. First of all, I dropped out of college. I hate class. I don't know about anybody else, but I had a 4.0 and I dropped out of college because I didn't want to be in class anymore. I just wanted to know, dude, tell me how to do something. Give me the steps and I'll go attack it. Right. But not having those things, what I did in my life was I committed. I had a clear vision what I wanted. I committed to it. And I just took consistent action that I thought was towards it, but I didn't have the blueprint. And I thought to myself, what is that costing me over my life? How much time, stress, energy, money, relationships, reputation, confidence, all these different things that it cost me not knowing how to do something. I said, well, what would be the answer to that? And a course isn't the answer, because courses, digital courses that people take, first of all, 83% of them never get completed. If that might be even like a conservative number. But if they're not getting completed, people aren't getting transformation. The coaches and consultants and trainers aren't getting repeat customers. They're not getting new money and being able to still continue to help. And most of it's high theory anyway, like high level theory stuff. It's not steps of how to achieve something. So we thought to ourselves, what if we created a marketplace where we drove millions of people into it? And when they went in there, they could search for success blueprints, how to achieve something from real estate, from travel hacks, from parenting, relationships, podcasting, writing a book, getting on TV, how to monetize your podcast, like all kinds of different things. And all these experts come in and they blueprint their success. We help them. And then we put them up there, and we build a community around this. We build events around this, and people come into this thing, and then they can figure out ways to have success, which allows also, Gary, people that they'll follow a blueprint to success. And then they'll realize as they go through that, with the success that they have and with the confidence that they have, that they can even maybe change it a little bit or add gasoline to that blueprint and do something even more magnificent. And then they can blueprint that. And then there's an exponential effect from this one tech platform. And by the way, it's blueprinted with 2 O's, BLOO printed.com/VIP. You can go check that out.
Yeah, check that out. We'll have that call to action in the show notes. So if you need to take a look at it. C-Roc, we've covered a lot of material. And my concern always I have when we share such great information is coming back to some of the basics. And I really want you to share with them because, as you know, we're in the fourth quarter of the year, and someone there is listening of knowing that they need to take that action. What would you share with that person that's sitting there saying, I've been on the sidelines, but I'm ready to get into the game?
So I'll give you 3 C's I talked about a little bit before, but there are 3 C's I go off of. This is not rocket science. I keep things simple. Get very clear on what you want in your ideal life with no limits. Don't put limits on it. That's not your place to put limits on it. You do not have the authority to put limits on your clarity of your ideal life. So if that's the first thing, get very clear, vivid vision, write it all out. Take time to do this. It is worth it. I promise you it's worth it. And if you don't think it's worth it, do it anyway and prove me wrong. Second thing, the second C is commitment. Decide and commit that you're going after that. And when I talk about commitment, I'm not talking about 1 foot in and maybe I'll do it when people are looking, and when people aren't, I won't do it. And I'll make excuses when I don't feel like it. If it's hard, I'll make excuses and tell a story. 100% commitment, both feet in, both butt cheeks in, everything all in, commitment. The third C is consistency. All your words, thoughts, and actions have to go towards that ideal life consistently, no matter if it's difficult, no matter if you feel like it, anytime, no matter if there's discouragement or people talking crap and doubting, and none of that matters. Consistent action towards it. Your consistency is more important than your feelings and more important if it's hard. And so that's the real simple answer to that.
Yeah. What a great advice there. Clarity, commitment, consistency. Easy to say, a lot harder to do in life.
No, it's not. That's the story you're telling yourself, Gary.
Okay, great.
We have to be careful. Like if you say it's hard, of course it's going to be hard. If you don't put that out there, that story, you will live to the stories you tell yourself.
That is so true. And that's where clarity comes in. If you take the clarity of really distinguishing out what you want, then it does become easier.
Exactly.
I love it. C-Roc, it's been great sharing some information with us. Share with them again how they can reach out to you. And we've got still the recharge round to go, but I want them to know how can they reach out and connect with you.
The best place to go is Blooprinted, BLOO printed.com/VIP. That you'll see what I'm up to there. And also I'm all over any platform, Instagram, Clubhouse, LinkedIn. You can find me very easily by just looking for Mike C-Roc, C-ROC.
And we'll have all that information in show notes. So if you're exercising or running right now or driving, please don't write it down. Go to chargepodcast.com and we'll share all that. C-Roc, I got 3 questions I want to ask you in what I call the recharge round. First one is charge. Create habits around real goals every day. What habit has created success in your life?
The first thing I think is gratitude in the mornings when I first wake up. The first thing I say is thank you. Thank you for another day to make an impact on this planet. I believe in God. I don't apologize for that, but that's what I do. I gratitude, and then I take action right away to do something towards my mission.
And the second question I have for you is simple positive action. What's a simple positive action you take each day to move forward?
I think that it's that understanding that low tolerance equals high production and high tolerance equals low production. So I just remember this formula so that everything I do, I just make sure it serves my mission. Like I don't overcomplicate things. So anything you do, serve your mission. Make sure you have your mission, serve your mission. If it doesn't, get rid of it.
Yeah. And that's where if you take that clarity and really distinguish what you want in life, you're going to be more likely to get it. It's about creating the map so you know where you're going. I've got a quote out there. I say goals, it's like having your headlights on because you know where you're going.
Yeah, exactly.
The last one, you've had a lot of life lessons and you shared some of them with us, but what do you think is the biggest life lesson and what did you learn from it?
The biggest one is one of my mentors showed me this pie chart, and one little sliver of the pie chart was what I knew. And another little sliver next to that is what I knew I didn't know. But the rest of the pie chart was things that I didn't know. So understanding that I'll never stop learning, I'll never stop improving, and I want to go for it all the time to continue to absorb like a sponge, learning lessons and learning and getting knowledge, because knowledge is power. And that's probably the biggest one.
Yeah. And that's the thing I'm trying to really express to the Chargers in this fourth quarter. Really, it's about what are you willing to learn? What are you willing to come through with it? C-Roc gave us tons of great information, but the question really comes down to this, Chargers. What are you going to do with it? Is it going to just be great information, or are you going to take action and really make something happen? Acknowledge what you want, accept it, and then now you're aware of it. Are you going to take action over this next year to make it happen? C-Roc, I can't thank you enough for being on the Charge podcast. Share with them again how they can check out some of your information.
Yeah, just go to Instagram. That's probably the best place. Mikey C-Roc, MIKEYCROC.
Chargers, you've got a lot of information here. Now, the thing is what do we move forward to doing? And I love C-Roc's message right behind him. I shared at the beginning. What are you made of? What are you made of? And what do you want that to be? And really, as you define that for yourself, you're going to be able to accomplish that. So as you kind of go through this fourth quarter and end up in fourth quarter to really launch into 2022, really get clear on what you want in life. And remember, go out each day and charge, create habits around real goals every day. Make it a great day. We'll see you back here next time.
This podcast is ended, but your life doesn't just stop. To continue your inspiring journey, head over to chargepodcast.com and access all the tools and resources mentioned on today's show. If you enjoyed this episode, consider sharing with somebody who may also benefit from the advice provided. That's chargepodcast.com. Until next time, charge in business and life.